Hey, what's up guys? John here. The biggest change to housing in American history was just announced over the weekend quietly.
The Biden White House has announced a new effort to protect tenants and make renting more affordable.
Nobody's talking about it. No one knows what's coming.
The housing market is just taking a beating because affordability is at a 4-decade low.
Home buyers across the country have been feeling the pinch when it comes to rising mortgage rates.
If you're a real estate investor, a property owner, or just an American wondering what's about to happen to the face of housing in this country, pay very, very close attention because this is a complete game changer. This is going to completely change everything that we know about real estate investing. Please hit the like button, YouTube will share this content to educate the people about what's really going on in America. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free strategy session. Take a look at this. So, the rent is too damn high. We've all seen these signs, especially during the eviction moratorium in 2020. All these protests nationwide, San Francisco, Oakland, LA, New York City, there are all these protests. But look at what is happening right now. So the housing, and by the way, just for the date reference, November 18th. So the housing crisis keeps working families strapped in a cycle of poverty. This is said Jay Powell. Without a stable home and affordable rent, it is impossible to move out of unemployment or build up financial safety net to safeguard against eviction and homelessness. Now, Alexandrov said the U.S. faces a shortage of at least 4 million homes, including 2 million affordable units that are badly needed for specific areas. The Biden administration has rolled out a 5-year plan to increase the housing supply, but Alexandrov said more aggressive action is needed. The housing crisis will not abate until millions of new homes are built, but there are policies the government can put in place to stem the bleeding. Now listen to what these policies are. About 12 million rental units are backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in a federal program created by Congress and managed by the Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, that backs mortgages and home loans across the country. Each year, the agency oversees $150 billion in financing for landlords purchasing mortgages for approximately 25% of all multifamily dwellings, according to the People's Action Home Guaranteed campaign. After months of organizing by tenants and housing justice groups, the Biden administration is now considering a proposal backed by top lawmakers to leverage the FHFA's authority to attach rent controls and other tenant protections to federally financed home loans, which would be a major step forward for the Homes Guaranteed campaign push to establish a national renters' Bill of Rights. The White House announced a blueprint for the Bill of Rights earlier this year. We've done months of research with economists and lawmakers. We've studied rent regulations and how they interact with supply. Based on this, we've determined that the most effective rent regulation would be a rent hike, a cap of 3% annually at all properties backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Think about this, 3% rent hike. Now, many people might jump in and say, hey, that's great. We need to prevent landlords from increasing rents. But I want you to have an open mind about what's actually happening here. Is this for tenants or is this a takeover of property, right? Look at this. So the average property in America is $416,000. So if you were intending to buy a property and rent it out at today's interest rates, even with 20% down, putting $83,000 down, the monthly payment would be $3,500. Now, how many people are making $10,000 a month to where they can comfortably afford to spend $3,500? So it would no longer make sense to buy properties to rent them out at today's interest rates. But when you look at what they're saying here, they're saying that institutional investors, they will own 40% of all single-family rental homes in the next 6 years. This right here is Unusual Whales. MetLife saying the same thing. MoneyWise saying the same exact thing. 4 in 10 single-family rental homes could be owned by and controlled by Wall Street. Multifamily Dive, Yahoo Finance, CNBC, they're all saying the same thing, right? They're letting people know what is to come. Because if these properties are being purchased and they're being purchased and paid for in all cash, they're no longer linked to all these new rules and guidelines. So institutional investors will have more authority over the housing market. And those that purchase properties maybe as Airbnbs or maybe as second homes or properties that they decided to rent out, those individuals are going to be most impacted. Now let's look at what's actually happened here. So if you look at how much home insurance has increased, nationally average home insurance costs are up 21% from May 2022 to May 2023. 21%. Property taxes skyrocketing as well. Property taxes up 4% across the U.S. in 2022. Even Miami, single-family property tax in Miami jumped 12.6% between 2021 and 2022. So what's going to happen? The cost to own these properties will continue to rise, but yet the income coming in will stay relatively flat. So you're going to start seeing a lot of landlords being forced out of these properties. And if investors are able to go in there and purchase these properties and pay all cash, they're going to be able to do so, and they're going to be able to get an incredible return on their money. Look at how much property is likely going to be turning over. Over 20 million of the 50 million rental units in the U.S. are owned by mom and pop landlords, also known as individual investor landlords. So 40% of the entire housing market is owned by mom and pop. And then, as they say here, 40% of single-family rentals will be owned by institutional investors. What are the odds, right? What are the odds? There's going to be a massive, massive rug pull on the American housing market. And this is the moment to make sure that you have a great business, or you're in a vehicle. Maybe you're a vehicle meaning you have a great employment opportunity, you have a great job, or you have a great business that can be a vehicle to drive you to a place where you can buy a property or two and pay all cash, right? Because you're going to look at what's happening here. How many people are going to be able to go out there and buy a property as an owner occupied just to go buy it and live in it? Not many people, right? So you're going to see a situation where not many people are going to be able to go buy a property. Not many investors are going to be looking to buy properties because not many people are going to be able to spend or pay all cash. Most people are putting down 3.5%, 4%, 5%, 6% as a down payment. So what are you going to have? You're going to start to see more sellers chasing a smaller pool of buyers. Don't think Wall Street's going to come out there and buy properties for $416,000 to go rent them out for $2,500. It's not going to happen, right? But there's something really interesting that's going to continue to happen here. It's this. You're going to start seeing artificial intelligence, robotics, technology start to play a bigger role in our lives in the coming 5 to 7 years. It's not going to happen overnight, but over time, you're going to start to see real wages continue to soften. And as that begins to happen, you have to look at what the White House just put out. They put this out in November this year, obviously this month. But if you look at what they're saying for housing security, they say housing security and quality has an important impact on health and well-being. So the lack of adequate, affordable, and safe housing in communities across the country is a major challenge. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, in 2021, over 8.53 million households not yet receiving government housing assistance were either living in severely inadequate rental housing, paying more than 1/2 of their income towards rent, or both. So as incomes begin to fall, they may start to put a complete moratorium on landlords, right, to where rents won't go up, or maybe they'll even go reverse, right? So what do I think is going to happen? I think that long term, we're going to continue to see the dollar walk into really, really big problems. We're going to likely see our purchasing power continue to erode, and we're going to see property rights continue to erode if you have these Fannie Freddie loans, right? Fannie Freddie, they have market share, right? They're controlling 12 million properties. So when you start to look at how much 12 million rental units, and this is just rental units, they're also talking about home loans, right? So you start to look at what's going to happen here. You want to get out of fiat currency over the coming 5 years or so and start buying hard real assets, ideally with no mortgage, no loan, and put yourself in a really, really great position where you can pivot and move. Because this situation is going to continue to get more crazy and more insane as time goes. But you have to imagine, if these corporations, they own 40% of the housing stock, and they have no rent control on their property, they're able to, increase rents to whatever they want, right? They're going to be able to increase rents for whatever they want. So when people say, hey, look, landlords are gouging tenants, just realize, look at Facebook, for example. Facebook, you could run a business and do so at a very, very low cost in 2011, 2012, 2013. Their costs really haven't changed that much, but yet the cost to get in front of a customer is through the roof. Why? It's because they have a monopoly on attention for the most part, and they're leveraging that to their benefit. What do you think will happen if 40% of single-family rentals are owned, single-family housing units are owned by institutional investors? They'll do the same thing. They're going to jack rents up. So in the short term, there might be relief, but in the long term, it's going to be the complete opposite, right? We're going to be walking into a situation that's way worse in the future than it is presently. What do you think about this situation? Do you think that there's going to be a situation where tenants are really going to benefit? Or are we walking into a massive takeover of property rights in America? Again, I believe we're in the greatest wealth transfer of all time. I believe we're in the pivotal moment for the middle class. the pivotal moment for the 99% to look at things clearly, realize what's actually happening, realize who's getting wealthier, who's getting richer. It's the rich. The rich are getting a hell of a lot richer. And right now, I believe the next couple of years, it's going to be extremely important to make sure you have a really good business or you have a really, really good job. You're really controlling your costs. You have great credit. You're able to put yourself in a position to where you can maybe leverage business credit. You can get access to funding for your business. You can, make moves. You want to put yourself in a position to make moves over the coming couple of years. What do you think about this situation? Drop below. We'll have a conversation. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. We'd love to give you a free strategy session, and I'll catch you in the next video.